I'm starting to briefly describe 3 things you are taking away from the in-person class. So number one, the phone calls that we did this past class really helped exercise quick on-the-spot thinking. Using the Montana School Guidelines for Identification and Reporting of Children Abuse and Neglect 2016-17 and Henderson 2013. We were able to, in class, integrate how to manage what to do with the parents. And doing that through a role play was so helpful because it put the things that we've been reading about into action, solidified experiences like we are not the investigators, we're reporters, and clarifying what that means in each situation, not careful not to give too much information that is outside of our scope as reporters, even when CPS might ask for it. And then also that in Montana, according to the Montana School Guidelines for Identification article, we call the child abuse hotline instead of our local CPS office. So now I've got that number in my phone, and we'll first report to the supervisor that I'm under in case of the situation, but then follow up with the child abuse hotline. The second thing that the in-person class is that all behavior has a reason, and to really not label a child, because labels can be self-fulfilling. So that's something that Rebecca really went over in class, and that Appelstein 1998 also trying to tell us that the child's behavior is trying to tell us that something isn't right and that I might need help. So that has been really helpful in starting to get my brain thinking about how to appropriately and helpfully treat a child and engage with their behavior and feelings. And then another helpful tool that Rebecca used in class a few sessions ago was, if you feel ... the child will feel. So one thing that stood out for me was, if you feel powerless, the child will feel inadequate. And I work with a child on the ski hill, and yesterday it appeared as though I knew I felt powerless because I wasn't teaching her in an effective way, that she was having fun. And she really wanted to stop. And when I reviewed this information, I realized, man, I bet there was a potential that she was feeling inadequate, and I was feeling powerless, and having these skills from Landreth and the Adlerian goals of behavior, having those in mind, may have helped keep us out on the ski hill longer than we ended up staying. And then, so those are the 3, the phone calls, strikers, and if you feel, the child will feel. So just reflecting on how I'm feeling and gathering more information about what the child might be feeling. The videos, so I chose the narrative video that had information from Dr. Stephen Madigan. And some of the big takeaways from that video were to ask a lot of questions. That's kind of counter to what Landreth says. He says not to ask a lot of questions. Trying to gather the child's perspective completely. And so an example of that would be, do you have any tricks to fix this problem? If the problem of boredom strikes again, maybe you could rewrite the reading in class to be the way that you would be interested in them. And then another question example might be, has there ever been a time when frustration doesn't occur? And so gathering the child's strengths and figuring out ways that they're already facing their problems and fixing the problems at hand. So yeah, that was 2 examples. I chose narrative because while play seems like a really useful thing, I don't know that it necessarily is authentic to who I may be as a therapist. That's still to be determined because I haven't worked with kids. But I think gathering and using imagination a bit more authentic to who I am, and since we have read a lot about authenticity in this class, I appreciate this frame of theory. And then as far as developmental, language is incredibly important to the narrative process. So that the child is always the expert, and so you're really trying to gather how they see the problems. Okie dokie. Question 3. Describe your experience completing the worksheets and the chart. Was it difficult for you? What did you learn? Yes, the basic skills chart and the worksheets were actually really challenging for me and started to make me feel really nervous to work with kids. Yeah, I mean, I know that the basic skills can be reflected, and having that article, the Van Vessler article, Belser article, helped really demonstrate different ways that could be used to write out the examples was really helpful. I still feel slightly lost in how that all looks, but I think through continuing to watch videos and practicing and just having an experience with children in the room, that will all start to kind of click. Really anxious because I don't know if working with kids is super authentic to who I am. Got a lot of papers here. So that was my reaction. I guess I got anxious, and I learned that it's possible. You just have to be creative and very specific with your wording. So providing examples of my worksheets. I don't know. Right. Okay, so feeling response. Number 1, your 4-year-old is beaming, holding a drawing in the air, jumping down, up and down, saying, "Look what I did." My response would be, "You're really proud of what you drew." Number 1, also in the choice giving practice worksheet, your 4-year-old needs to put on shoes to go to the store, but decides he wants to go barefoot. To guide the child towards shoes, their choices are shoes or going barefoot, or I would say actually, your choices are barefoot or not going to the store, and your response is, what do you choose? Would you like to wear shoes and go to the store, or go barefoot and stay home? Not super certain if that's correct, but situation number 1, your child worked hard to get the lid off. You worked hard and got the lid off the Play-Doh. I did number 1s. I'm just doing number 1s on these. Your child throws the rubber shark at the window. You set a limit saying, you want to throw the rubber shark at the window. In here, we do not throw toys at the window. And then T, you may throw the ball up in the air as the other option. Your child throws the shark again after the 3rd time. The limit has been stated. And if you choose to throw the shark, then you choose not to play with the shark today. If you choose not to throw the shark, then you choose to play with the shark today. These took kind of a long time for me to work through, and I still feel nervous that they might not come very naturally in the course of a session. But, like, we are always reinforced. This is part of the process, and it will come. One from the basic skills worksheet. From the basic skills, one of the ones that I wrote down from the readings is you can spell how you want to in here, and I noted that as positive regard / encouragement, so maybe both. Yeah, okay, I'm trying to move through this efficiently. So question number 5, I want to say. Name the top 6 concepts you have learned in class thus far, and how I will. So the first one that I wanted to state was do not rush growth. That was both for the child and for me as a therapist. I think thinking about working with children, that seems to be a really applicable one from Hess, Magnuson, and Beeler 2013. I hope to apply that by just bringing patience and encouragement into the room for both myself and the child that I'm working with. Number 2, authenticity is key, Holman and Foster 2016. I think I'm choosing play therapy might be something that I start to use later on or maybe even right away, but initially creating my frame of reference with narrative seems to be the most authentic to who I am in the room, and if I'm authentic in the room and confident in what I can bring to the session, then that will help build our relationship in the room with the child. 3, choose your words wisely. Simple is better. So this was kind of built, or that concept is built from the narrative video that we watched this week with Stephen Madigan and then Landreth. Landreth is really about simple is better, and the narrative concept is that choosing words and language is really important. And so paying attention to that in the counseling room. Or be flexible. Kids are not adults. This is really important. And I was noticing that out on the ski hill yesterday with the girl that I was working with. We need to work on their level and not try to push skills and different aspects that we think that they need to be at. This was emphasized from both Rebecca in class and Kristen in the videos that we watched 2 weeks ago, or the class notes that we watched. 5, working with parents is really important, and that aspect intimidates me, but I think it's empowering to the parents and to the children to create that relationship because with us as the therapist, because that's where the relationships are at home, and so making sure that they're part of the process, I think, is key. I'm not quite sure what that will look like yet, depending on where and what I'm working with, but I know that it's key. Another thing that I learned this week is setting limits. Landreth talked a lot about setting limits in chapter 11 this week, and it seems challenging because you want to set the limits when necessary and not over enforce rules, which might be my tendency. I just noticed from babysitting that I'm more of a rule enforcer, but that setting them as applicable so that the child feels comfortable in the space to maneuver as they can and may, and then when they're doing things that are beyond the limits of the space, that we reinforce it with reflecting a feeling and like acknowledging their wish, feeling, and want, and then backing that up with like the firm set rule. So those are the 6 concepts that I'm interwoven this week, and I appreciate you listening to my video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.